have been a university professor back in Africa.
Okay.
I taught in the university for 18 years before coming to the UK. I'm a Redeemer Pentecostal. For me, Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is the chosen one. Jesus is God in Trinity. I am, by the grace of God, a living testimony of what God can do and can still do. True and the purest religion is what Abraham Lincoln said. I feel good when I do good, and I feel bad when I do bad. I relate with every individual first as a human being, not as a religious person. Muslims are very honest. But my fellow Christian brothers, it is the pull them down syndrome. The faith of yesterday might not be enough for the crisis of today. So I do less of talking and I do more of kneeling.
Hello. In this conversation, I speak with a university professor who's obviously well-read and experienced in history and religious studies. In the beginning of our conversation, I thought that he was leaning towards universalism. But as our chat continued, I saw that his position was much more nuanced. He was reacting basically to the problems he was seeing in the Christian church, especially from those who claim to be leaders, rather than weakening his theological convictions. Hence, he made it his life's mission to let his actions, rather than words, demonstrate his faith. Have a look at this interesting interaction and let me know what you think. God bless. Do you have any faith, any religion, any philosophy of life, any belief?
Yes, of course, I'm a Christian from Africa originally.
Great, so you're Christian from Africa. Is there a particular denomination that you are part of?
Yes, but I'm a Redeemer Pentecostal.
Redeemer Pentecostal, okay. Has that been always the case for you, or pretty much?
It has been, at birth, I really don't have control of what faith I choose in terms of denomination. So at birth, I was apostolic Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a Christian in the Christian Apostolic Faith Ministry.
Okay.
Okay. Founded by the popular Apostle Afe Babalola.
Okay.
Of blessed memory, who did the great revival of the 1930s in the sub-Saharan Africa.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay.
And basically, Joseph Ayo Babalola University at Iraqi was named after him to immortalize his spiritual contribution, to the Christian faith in West Africa. Then, growing up, I found myself in the Deeper Life Ministry, owned by Dr. Williams Kumuyi of the famous DLCF Lagos. Then, by virtue of getting married, I needed to be on the middle ground with my wife. Mm-hmm. She is of the Four Square denomination. I have a background in Deeper Life. So coming to a middle point, we needed to agree on which denomination to. That's how I found myself in the Redeemed Christian Church of God.
I see. So that's quite a rich history that you have. Quite a rich also heritage of believers in your sort of in your path, so to speak. Yeah. Going back to sort of the early sort of memories that you have of belief, like has the belief and faith come easy to you? Did you ever get into a situation of questioning, having to confirm it as your own? Presumably, if your parents were passing it on to you or your family, was there a time where you had to make it your own?
Yes, basically, I have been a university professor back in Africa. I taught in the university for 18 years before coming to the UK.
I see.
So I've taught different, genre of courses ranging from religious history of spirituality, diversity, inclusivity. So I am a very critical person.
I see.
I question almost everything so that I'll be sure that once I say this is the truth, it stands as the truth. Because whatever I say is the truth defines my person in and out. And every individual has both a local and global agency in terms of imagery and how people view what you do. So therefore, my dad is a clergy. But he found out over time that growing up I had always been a very critical person. Because in philosophy and logic that I was taught some 26 years ago in the university, the philosophers have a concept known as the world of form. That was why St. Augustine said, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. So if I am thinking, why should I just accept that there is a God, there is a force that is supernatural, far beyond the natural me, controlling what I do, how I do it, when I do it. So it is more of a transition to believing that, oh, indeed, there is a force that comes in different religious form that I should accept as the most supreme, the Almighty, that can control but cannot be controlled. St. Augustine said he is the unmoved mover. That is the supreme God, the Christian God, you know. So, but sometimes I've been having this dilly-dallying acceptance of what should be the truth, given the excesses of those who are supposed to be servant of God now becoming God of men. So I question like the tithe, the offering, you know, because there was a time we're having an argument in my church. In my church, they don't allow me to ask questions.
Right.
I don't go where everybody's going. I'm a professor of history with every sense of responsibility. So I asked a question. I said, you did say that the Bible says that once you start walking, you should sow a seed. That is, the first earning you have, you should bring it to the church. Now, the same Bible said God is not an author of confusion. What happened to my biological parent that labored on me? They should be the first person to receive the salary. Not a pastor that has commercialized religion in the name of God.
I say, yep.
And so they were saying, Prof. I said, no, for a fact, you as a pastor, you cannot pray and it will be accepted like my dad will pray. My dad is my oracle. He is the go-between myself and God. He is the first identity I have as a boy child. When they saw, because as we were arguing, I was going to the Bible. You know, I said, are you now saying that God is an author of confusion? Then when we came to the issue of tithing, I was trying to say, I studied history and international politics. Tithe is not an African thing. Tithe was basically what came up during the agrarian age in the Jewish religious history. And tithe are meant to be given to the Levite, not, the recent converts of the Christian faith. Christianity necessarily came when the Christian missionaries came around to Africa, and we did accept. I was now saying that if we say that the Christians, defer to one God, why is it impossible for members of self-redeemed Christian Church of God to be invited and accept the invitation from the Celestial Church of God? Why won't you go and support, attend their program, and even speak? Because you feel that doctrinally there are cleavages of opinion, but you say we have the same God. Yet the Bible says God is not an author of confusion.
Right.
So are we saying that on the last day when the saints will be taken away, each of the churches will have their God announce the rapture at different times?
Right. No.
So that was why most recently Professor Benson Egboin gave his inaugural lecture, and it was a simple title, The Risk Being God. He was able to make me understand that, wow, that the true and the purest religion is what Abraham Lincoln said. I feel good when I do good, and I feel bad when I do bad. He said that is the purest religion. If you say you are religious, you're a Christian, you serve God, and a fellow human comes to you for help, and you know you are in the position to help, but you did not, question your faith as a Christian. Because if men were God, perhaps the universe would have stopped existing. So Christianity has been here and there for me, but I believe in the existence of a supreme God. I know he exists, he controls the universe, he rules in the affairs of men. But the human representative, the human agency, the way they present the narrative sometimes confuse those who have not really taken time to study the Bible of different versions.
Yeah. Can I ask you about, so you talked about the unmoved mover, the idea of a supreme God, and as something that sort of resonates very strongly in your initial sort of formation of belief. Now, obviously, Islam believes also in one God, Allah, right? And they are very strong sort of monotheistic belief. How would you, being faced to a Muslim, would you agree we believe in the same God there, or what is the difference between?
Sincerely yours, for me, like I'd always argue at different fora, I would always submit that, like Karl Marx has observed, religion is the opium of the masses. And you know what? If you know what opium did during the Anglo-Chinese War of 1940s, opium is an intoxicant, that when inhaled makes people to even deny their patriotism to their home country. Now, I have over time, whether Islam or Christianity, it has seriously been weaponized to control the mind rather than help humanity to get better in the other part. Because when I came over to the UK in 2023, I was wondering, this is not the Christianity we practice in Africa. Here, whether in the mosque, in the church, they give. There is a communal orientation. They give to people, they reach out to community people. But over there, everything is taken from the poorest of the poor. So that is why back in Africa, the Muslims in the far north, they believe that they have a mandate to fight for Prophet Muhammad and Allah, who they have not seen, by killing in the most barbaric manner somebody who they felt had desecrated the Holy Quran. If that document represents God, can we really fight for God? That was the question I was asking my Muslim friend. But I also found out that Islam, as practiced in the southwestern part of Nigeria, they are more tolerant compared to the north. So I now begin to understand, perhaps because of their link to the Oriental, the Arab civilization. In my own ethnic affiliation, Islam is called Imole. That is a very difficult religion, where if you don't accept its tenets and doctrinal values, you are seen as an infidel. You understand? I've asked, at what point was people who refuse to be adherent of Islam tagged as infidel? By who? By God or by Muhammad? I recently asked a friend of mine, I said, no matter how consistent you attend the Catholic Church, no Catholic can be more Catholic than the Pope. Therefore, for me, whether it's Islam or Christianity, is a way of life. Until we see it that way, we're going to continue to assume the position of the one that should actually have the final say, who is the Almighty God. Because I believe that whether Allah, whether God, religion should be universal. If we are looking onto one supreme being, there is one universe. There is no universe for the Muslim. There is no universe for the Christian. When COVID-19 came, COVID-19 was not sensitive to religion. It was a leveler. So for me, the perspective and the disposition of individuals or group of people to either of the religion determines how well they function within its dynamics.
Okay, let me just sort of probe a little bit deeper on that, because, so I agree that there cannot be, I wonder whether this is what you meant, but let me just sort of clarify, right? There is not a separate universe for Islam or a separate universe for Christian, meaning that the two religions are not compatible. It has to be either one, either one or the other, because they're mutually exclusive, right? They make exclusive claims. So, and would you agree that exclusive or that sort of let's call it the friction comes at the person of Jesus, theologically so, that it is the person of Jesus whom we sort of look at and then say Islam looks at him as a prophet, as a man in a line of prophets, but in Christianity he is more than a man. He's the Son of God who came to take away our sins. Who died and was crucified on the cross for our sins. Would you agree with that? Would you agree that that is the distinguishing sort of line of demarcation there, or would you? Yeah.
I do. The Christian faith, everything we accept as doctrine is consequent on the strength of the faith we have in accepting those things that have been so contained in the Bible. Mm-hmm. For me, whatever we accept, as long as we are human, whatever we accept is risk in itself. Because we really cannot tell. Like I did observe in Professor Ibonyi's inaugural. He said, if the Christian says that all Muslims will not go to heaven, it means that they are not serving the Christian God. They have another God they are serving. Which means their own judgment will take place at a different time, in a different space. So for me, Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is the chosen one. Jesus is God in Trinity. All of this we risk to believe because of the faith we have in believing that it is true. Because what we're told is that the Bible was written by men that were inspired. By who? By God. And if Jesus had been well established by theological scholars that he is the Word himself, it means the Bible we read is Jesus manifest in written form. As a Christian, I think I've had some practical encounter that gave me the conviction that God does exist. But the place of Jesus in all of this spiritual equation is still a matter of risk, but we have accepted by reason of the faith we have that it is true. Mm-hmm. Not that we don't have our doubts as humans, but we do accept by faith. Faith is what connects us to that spiritual letters that is contained in the Bible. Because faith has been so defined that it is the evidence of things not seen, but we do accept that they exist. And for me, Christianity had made more sense to me because I have experienced some of those things that have been preached in the Bible. I've witnessed, for example, sometimes in April this year, I was originally staying with my in-law. I needed a breakthrough. I was coming to rent this apartment. There was no money anywhere. Sometimes I do some weird things. I just say, I think God exists, and I'm a Christian. God, can you just do something to prove your existence? And an ex-student of mine I taught in Africa some 15 years ago, I just received a call. Hello, Prof, I'm in London. I said, oh, really? Can you come over to O2 Arena, those high-rising building? 22nd, I got there. Lo and behold, he paid my 3-month rent. So why would somebody now tell me that God does not exist? Because I just offered a simple word of prayer, and I got almost a spontaneous response. So I took that risk, and the risk came in practical manifestation. So I have no reason to doubt that indeed a force beyond my own capacity does exist that has made what I anticipated to come into full performance. So yes, I believe in Jesus as the Son of God. I believe in everything said about him in the Bible, but the belief is a function of the faith I have. But given my own human thinking and frailty, I have my doubts.
Yeah.
But by the time I go through the non-carnal supernatural transition, I have a reason to believe that by faith, everything about him is true. But if I have friends, as many are there, most of my friends are Muslims. Why? This is my reason. I found out very interestingly that Muslims are very honest. And not my fellow Christian adherents. Muslims are it is a characteristic I've found out across continent, whether in the global north or in the global south. Muslims are very honest. But my fellow Christian brothers, it is the pull them down syndrome that they are used to. So I feel more attached to the Muslims than my Christian fellows. Because I have asked many questions. Don't we read the same Bible? Which part of the Bible are you reading upside down? Because the Bible says that if I help you, you are my brother, not God that I have not seen. If I cannot help the person I see, how much more can I say I love God that I have not seen? And the Muslims have demonstrated this thing to me in the most practical form, which makes me to be more of, I take to them easily, even though I have my reservation about some of their doctrinal disposition. I relate with every individual first as a human being, not as a religious person.
Sure.
That is my own philosophy of life.
Sure. In those interactions with your, let's say, Muslim friends, or even with non-Muslim friends, maybe even before you,
Traditional religion adherents.
Yes, and I guess I was asking about maybe just your perspective on sharing your faith. So, as a believer and a disciple, so to speak, of Christ, are you, or in which ways do you believe that you are able to share your faith? Does it come in a nature of sort of through life, through practical means, or do you witness through testimony and words, or a combination of both? It'll be good to understand.
All that I have mentioned, through testimony, because I am, by the grace of God, a living testimony of what God can do and can still do. With every sense of humility, I think sitting before you, I was not meant to be a university graduate in the first place. Because of the 8 children my dad has, I think I was about the dullest. Even at year 7, I could not read 2-letter words. But I later became a professor of a university. I became head of department, vice dean of faculty, representative of senate. I have held many positions. But one thing I have found out, why I have been able to win my other brothers from the other religion, is for you to be able to convince a Muslim friend that there is something that is missing in his or her religion that you have in your religion. Your life must exemplify it. Because I believe that my life is a book that he or she will be reading. That is why I grew up to allow doing good to be the easiest thing for me. So my life has been the most potent factor that had helped my Muslim students, colleagues, to just believe that there is something about Christianity that I must follow this person to witness. For example, I had a visitation sometimes last month of my ex-student some 15 years ago. Like I said, my dad is a clergy, and his own ministry is Ministry of Deliverance. All right. I was just in an examination hall, and I saw my student in a 3 hours paper. He spent 1 hour 30 minutes. He's not written anything. His hand could not hold onto his pen. He was sweating, and I am a very passionate person, and I knew that perhaps if I refer him to my dad, if he has the faith and they connect, something can happen. And it did work. He became a graduate. So when he found out that, I am in the UK, he drove 2 hours, 30 minutes to come and say hello to me. Now, he has told many other persons that if you think there are bad Christians, there are good ones. It's a function of my life. So many instances I cannot begin to mention. The last students I trained that made a distinction in my department was, what will I call him? He was a strong Islamic devote. But myself and my wife, we paid his school fees from year 1 to year 4. Rented his apartment. In fact, my children, I have 4 boys. On weekends, he comes to my house, pick them to his house. But he is a Muslim. He has read the Quran. He knows everything. So the mother called me one day. He said, "Hello, Prof. Sorry, I want to ask, are you a human being?" I said, "Why did you ask that question?" He said, "You are not worried that my son could begin to, indoctrinate your children?" I said, "No, I'm not relating with him as a Muslim. I'm relating with him as a fellow human being. Having one God controlling both of our lives." He said, "This is very strange." He said, "But that is not what your fellow Christian lecturers or other people do. As it is individual differences. That is what I think I think it is the right thing, and I'm okay doing it." The same Muslim boy, I'm already processing a scholarship to Canada, University of Victoria, all based on me. So one of those days he said, "Prof, sir, I don't even know what I'm doing with all these cramming languages I don't even understand. I'm not an Arabian. Why all this?" And I said, "See," I say, "Teddy, one thing you must know is that my respect for your religion is a religion in itself. Respect for one religion is the truest religion. Because when I respect your, if I say Jesus is the only way, if you don't accept it, you die, I am not preaching anything to you. I'm already a fanatic. I'm going extreme. I think from love, the transmission of religious chemistry can begin to flow easily without forcing it. Express love. And that is what I have done to many of them I've encountered with. And they saw that beyond Jesus is the Savior, they've always asked, what is that practical thing that you make me believe that what you are saying is real? Because Jesus exemplified all of those things. He washed his disciples' feet.
Yeah.
He one night dined with a prostitute.
Yeah.
How many of your colleagues are ready to do that?
Yeah.
So I think my own case is more of a lived experience.
Right. And do you think eventually you would have to, because I think there's a danger of doing the sort of lived experience, but then people walking away and thinking of you're just a good person, or you're just a very righteous individual, but not very clear about what is the drive, what is the source of your hope, of your joy, of your interest in them, or maybe even having a misconclusion, saying, okay, maybe this person is some humanist or something like that. There are people in non-believers who are just as.
I do understand.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because of my growing up trajectory, I've had a direct experience of both poverty and wealth. When I was giving birth to my parents, I met them wealthy, but life accident happened and the table turned around. So having experienced these two sides, I came to understand that life in its entirety is vanity. Solomon was very correct. So because life, anytime, any day, is full of vanity, I deliberately decide to choose my own vanity, which is, no matter how difficult it is, just make sure that anybody that comes around your world, put a smile on their face. Even when you don't have money to give to them, that might be enough to keep them going. That is what I've always done. And it has never been based on any ulterior or selfish indulgence. It has always been pure desire to make people better, irrespective of their ethnic divide, religious affiliation, or who they are. I relate with everybody as a human being first. And even though the human in me might sometimes show up, maybe due to some extreme mood swing, but I'm always conscious of the fact that there are many people looking up to me. Should I act in a way that does not reflect the view they've always held about me, I will affect so many things. Therefore, I take every step of my life with the consciousness that there is a need for me to always retrospectively access how far the journey has been. And I hope that I am still making the impact I have chosen to make. So it has not always been about what I have to get. If it has been a case of what I have to get, perhaps I'll be a multimillionaire in both Naira and other currencies. But it is selfless. And that is what I learned from my dad. Mm-hmm. It is selfless. My dad has prayed for presidents, head of states. He's traveled. Sometimes there was a time I had to quarrel with him seriously. Hello, pastor. This person told you that he has spent life savings. You just had an encounter of 5 minutes and the problem is gone. And he offers something, you say, no, if you accept it, God will be angry. Where did you have the communication with God? He now said, do I remember what happened to Elijah and Gehazi? He said, what he is seeing, I can't see. And I apologize. I now understand the quality of having a spiritual eyes. I was only being physical, So, for me, doing good is you don't force it. And when you do good and you are now connected to Christ within the Christian circle, it becomes easier because Christ-likeness becomes manifest. The first time the word Christian was used was in Antioch. Mm-hmm. They saw the people, they behaved like Christ. They said, this is a little Christ, Christian.
Yeah.
So for me, if I cannot reflect the person I am preaching, I had better not start it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I will end up confusing the people that are already confused. Yeah. In their own self-belief. Yeah. So for me, it is either you are doing it right or you just let it be.
Yeah. And this is maybe I was sort of trying to probe into that a little bit more because I was saying as much as, even Paul was saying, imitate me as I imitate Christ. I mean, he was, yes, inviting disciples to look at his life, to follow and model his own life. But ultimately, he knew that he himself was still not a fully redeemed in this life. He was going to make mistakes. He was going to do that. And so it's almost like if that were to happen, if we are, as you said yourself, we're subject to mood swings, we're subject to weaknesses, we're in this flesh. Should that happen, people's faith should not fail on account of our own failures.
Yes.
They should be ultimately based on something greater and higher. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for for a fascinating conversation. I would love to maybe another time. I just live just down the road here, so I'm sure maybe we'll run into each other again. But maybe the last final words, for someone, let's say, who is interested in Christianity, or maybe a younger believer who needs a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of something to keep them going in faith. What would be your words for such a person? Yeah.
Like my dad had always advised, the Bible is clear about it. The Bible said, study to show yourself approved. You can only receive approval when you by yourself immerse yourself as a young believer. Read the word, not waiting for what somebody is coming to read to you. Read the word, understand God's plan for you personally, internalize it, and pray it through. That God, daily as I live, often as I breathe, let my own personal life be an expression of your love, of your value, of your person. Then growth becomes an easy thing. That is what has helped me. Because when I read a book, God's General, I found out that for you to survive, because the Bible was clear, it said each day is full of its evil. So I felt survival is consequential, no matter how powerful you are. The faith of yesterday might not be enough for the crisis of today. Mm-hmm. So I do less of talking and I do more of kneeling to commune with the person whom I have been created in his own image. So a young Christian that have learned the art of praying, even if it is gradual, 2 minutes can grow up to become 3 hours, 1 month. Once the place of prayer is not compromised, growing spiritually becomes an expectation that will always be fulfilled. Because God is interested in the growth of every person that identifies with him within that commonwealth of the saints. That is my own very easy, simple advice.
Wonderful advice, and thank you again for your time.